Before I discuss this theory, I think it goes without saying that it has absolutely nothing to do with the unfortunate passing of Rachel Lillis, who voiced Misty in the Pokemon anime. Rest easy. In episode 24 of the Pokemon anime, Misty is licked by Haunter. In Pokemon Yellow, there's a Pokédex entry that says, "By licking, it saps the victim's life. It causes shaking that won't stop until the victim's demise." The effect of Haunter's tongue seems to be a pretty well-documented fact that spans decades of lore and games, so it's safe to assume that fans might come to the conclusion that being licked by the creature was a death sentence for Misty, especially after seeing the way she jolts and falls to the ground afterwards. The theory states that all of her appearances in the show are manifestations of Ash's grief, and that all of her battles after that point were actually fought by Ash. Of course, there's a few holes in this theory, like the fact that Ash's Charmander is also licked, which would mean it would have died too, but that never happened. N is a fan-favorite character introduced in Pokemon Black and White. He became so popular in part due to how mysterious he is, and the fact he can understand what Pokemon are saying. This has led some fans to believe that N might actually be a Pokemon himself, more specifically Zoroark. Zoroark is well known for being a master of illusionary tricks, being able to fool humans with false images and misdirection. This leads some people to think that N himself may be one of the illusions controlled by a Zoroark. Upon closer inspection, there is a lot more evidence to back this up than you'd think. A worthwhile detail to note comes in the form of a flashback. In the flashback, N is shown listening in on some Team Plasma grunts. The strange thing, though, is that the flashback is triggered by interacting with a Zoroark, rather than N himself. This is unlike every other flashback in the game, as all the others are started by interacting with the person who presumably holds that memory. This might suggest that the Zoroark retains this memory, because it is N. The Pokemon anime also makes note of Zoroark's ability to create an illusion of anything or anyone. It can also mimic human speech quite easily. Such skills would be perfect for taking on the identity of a human in secret. N also has a Zoroark in his party when you battle him, which could imply that it is overseeing the battle through an illusion. In Pokemon Black and White 2, you're led to N in his castle by a Zoroark, which this theory would suggest is actually N himself leading you. You can also encounter a Zoroark that can communicate with humans in Lostlorn Forest. Generation 1 of Pokemon is known for a lot of things, however these games aren't looked back on as fondly anymore due to a variety of factors, one of which being the large amount of bugs and glitches. Arguably the most famous glitch in these games is the MissingNo Pokemon, which appears as a jumbled mess of pixels. The glitched Pokemon allowed players to duplicate any item in Pokemon Red and Blue, essentially ruining the progression of the game and providing players with an unlimited amount of rare candy and Master Balls. While most people consider it to have been a simple programming error or the remnants of a removed Pokemon, some fans believe there's a more ominous backstory behind MissingNo. It has long been thought that Pokemon are stored as digital data while inside Pokeballs or PC boxes, and one theory builds on this idea. It suggests that if a Pokemon stays stored digitally for too long, its data could become corrupted, turning it into MissingNo. Another theory states they may be failed Mew clones, which would also fit, considering their proximity to the Pokemon Mansion, a site where other cloning experiments are known to have taken place. When Mimikyu was released, it got a lot of love for its backstory. It was always said that Mimikyu wanted to be as popular as Pikachu, which is why it's dressed up as Pikachu. This unnerving theory goes deeper into why Mimikyu wanted to dress up as Pikachu, rather than just popularity. The theory says that a Mimikyu is just a Pichu that passed away before evolving into a Pikachu, and now that it's moved on, it still wants to evolve. The evidence to back this theory up is that Mimikyu is a ghost/fairy type for the deceased Pichu. Mimikyu also knows the move Thunderbolt and shares multiple moves with Pichu, making the theory make more sense than it should. Really quick, if you're enjoying the video so far, liking it would be appreciated, and subscribe for more Nintendo videos. My last one was about my favorite remakes/remasters. So check that out if you want. Anyway. This links in with the previous Mimikyu theory, but it's more expanded upon, so I think it deserves its own separate entry. For as long as they've existed, fans have theorized about the history of ghost-type Pokémon. Considering the ghost type exists, it suggests that at some point, these ghosts were alive. Because of this, some fans have come up with ideas of what Pokémon these ghost types were before they died. For Gengar, many believe that before death, it was a Clefable. There's a similar theory that Ghastly was a Cloyster before becoming a ghost, due to the weird little inner face of Cloyster looking almost identical to Ghastly. And of course, like I mentioned in the previous section, Mimikyu, the ghost/fairy type, is assumed to be a dead Pichu. However, some fans believe Mimikyu is actually a dead Deden, an electric fairy type that closely resembles Pikachu. It's likely dressed as Pikachu, hoping to get the affection that it didn't get while alive, which is honestly pretty tragic if true. Ash being in a coma is probably the most famous fan theory ever, apart from the various Lavender Town ones, which I won't be covering in this video because literally everyone knows about the Lavender Town syndrome story. Near the beginning of the first series, Ash gets electrocuted by Pikachu and also crashes his bike. It's theorized that because of the electrocution or the crash, Ash fell into a coma. The coma would not only explain why Ash never ages, because he is basically living in a dream world throughout the entire series, but it also explains why there are Nurse Joys and Officer Jennys in every region who look the same and share the same names. Another thing is that, has it ever occurred to you how weird it is that all these young children are sent out into the world at 10 years old to become Pokémon trainers, while their parents are never there? To an adult, this would seem ridiculous. However, this would make perfect sense for the imaginary world in the young Ash's head. Phantump is a ghost/grass type Pokémon that is said to be the result of a spirit possessing a tree stump. Most of the Pokédex entries that exist about this Pokémon are super creepy. For example, the entry in Pokémon Shield says, "With a voice like a human child's, it cries out to lure adults deep into the forest, getting them lost among the trees." This theory is probably the creepiest in this entire video, because it's not really a theory at all. The games and anime basically confirm that Phantump are children who died in the woods when they were lost, and they continue to lure more people into the woods with their cries. With all that being said and done, I'd like to thank everyone for watching and supporting the channel. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for more Nintendo videos, like the video if you liked it, and drop your favorite Pokemon fan theories in the comments. I'll pin my favorite.